Good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to New Tracks. This is where mentors can help modelers build. Thanks so much for coming this evening. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you do, tell your friends about us so that they can join us too. If you're new to the show, please subscribe to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, and make sure that you answer the email that the website will send to you to confirm that that is your true email address. Then from that point on, you'll get notices about all of our future events and the login links and so forth, so you never have to worry about missing one of the shows. If you're interested at all in working with us to produce the shows, we'd love to hear from you. Right now, we need somebody on YouTube to be a moderator of the chat function for us. And we need somebody that's knowledgeable about Facebook to advise us and help us about how we post and what we should be doing to advertise our programs on Facebook. So if you're interested in either one of those things, please send me an email. My email address is jimkello1, numeric 1, @gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to be a participant on our show, to either do one of the build-alongs or some other function on the show, please let me know. We encourage you to do it. We welcome your participation. This is a participation show after all. So if you're interested, please let us hear from you. We have some great build-alongs coming up. Tonight, you'll see two of them. One of them by Rick and Maureen Hunter of Hunterline, building their 81-foot trestle. And this is really something. I'm so happy that Rick and Maria are here to do this. And the people that are building along with them, I think, are really going to have a fantastic model once they're finished. The next person that you're going to meet here tonight is Martin Brechbiel, MMR, who's building a car kit from Leadville Designs. It's a maintenance away car. He's building it in O scale. And Martin is such a fantastic modeler. You've seen him many times on the show, scratch building projects, that I think you'll really enjoy this. Coming up after that, in October, Jim Murphy is going to build a LaBelle woodworking business car. In October also, Bill Davis is going to build a rail scale models car. In November, Dave Schultz is building an All Nation new product, because All Nations has been out of the market for so long. So I hope that you'll stay tuned and want to become involved in one of those. For complete details about all of these companies, all of the products, the discounts that they're giving to modelers who want to build one of the products with us on the show, all of that information is available on our website, newtracksmodeling.com. And if you have any questions, send me an email. I'll be glad to answer them. And I'll try to do it as soon as I get your email. The next My Build is coming up in October, on October the 27th. Chris Coarse is the guy to talk to about it. He's the moderator of all of the My Build series that we have. And Chris is available to you by email or telephone or however you want to talk to him. He just has to have some idea of how many people are going to be at the My Build. And so if you're interested, which we hope you are, the more the merrier, please contact him. Chris also has the My Build tonight that he'll be running shortly. And I think that he has a lot of people that have signed up for that. So that's great news. The more the merrier for these. This is an important part of our show because it lets everybody participate to whatever extent that they'd like to. What we want to know is what you're modeling, what you've built, whether you're in the process of completing it or whether you've already finished it. We just like to hear from you. And it's your way to participate in our show once a month because we do these My Builds once a month without a heavy requirement for great participation. If you've got any questions you think that we can answer, please let us know. We'll do everything we can to answer your questions. We have a form on our website, newtracksmodeling.com. If you'll fill out the form, I guarantee I will answer your question and have somebody on the show address the issue, or somebody on the show volunteer to do a segment to answer your issue. So we'd really like to hear from you if you have any modeling questions. Before we go and start the actual show tonight, I've got a couple of announcements that I'm really pleased about. One is that New Tracks has been accepted as a member of the Hobby Manufacturers Association. This association includes not only the model railroad manufacturers, but the manufacturers from all the different hobbies. And to me, that's why it was important for New Tracks to be able to join this association and participate, because of the new capabilities that this will give not only the show, but also the articles that I write monthly about New Tracks. Because these are manufacturers from all the different hobbies. I already have one manufacturer from a different hobby who makes nothing but boats, that was recommended by one of the people here tonight that they'd like to have on the show. Well, this is a boat manufacturer, not a model railroader, but I think you're really going to be interested in his appearance on the show. It's coming up, I think, in a month or so. And I'm happy now to announce that we've been accepted to be a member of this association. I'm looking forward to meeting the other manufacturing members and also to participate in the association. I did not know until tonight that Canadian firms are not allowed in this association. I did not realize that. I'm assuming if the Canadian firms aren't allowed, that no other than US firm is allowed, but I'm not sure of that. But that'll be one of the questions that I'll ask, is why aren't Canadian firms allowed to participate? Because we know that the Canadian firms participate in trade shows and the various shows, some of which I understand may be sponsored by the Hobby Manufacturers Association. So that's a question that I personally would like to have an answer to, because I didn't realize that was a situation. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is Dave Rarig's engine house. And I received an email from, you'll have to give me just a second to find it here, from Dave Weatherall. And Dave writes, I took the engine house, and Dave was the winner. I took the engine house to the club, and the club he's talking about is in Barrie, Ontario, and it's the Barrie Allendale Railway Modelers. He says, I took the engine house to the club last night to see if it would fit into the engine service area that we are just getting started. The fellows at the club were very impressed with the model, and it is going to be used on the club layout. The attention to detail and the multiple layering of the printed sheets to get the dimensional effects certainly make a big difference. The guys kept wondering how the windows were glazed, and I had to rewatch the build along to recall using packing and Scotch tapes to get the effect. In fact, I watched the whole sequence again this morning and have a renewed appreciation of the efforts that David Rarig put into the construction of the model. The interior bracing certainly makes it a robust model that will easily withstand repeated handling. On behalf of the club, thanks to David for donating his model. Well, and thank you for being an interest in it, and for being on the show tonight and being able to win it. And I do hope that everybody really enjoys it. The next thing we got, Ken got an email from Captain Rob. And Captain Rob says, I am a member of the Tennessee Valley Model Railroad Club. We are building a layout for the Tennessee Valley Museum. We are modeling the, quote, rat hole run from Ohio to Chattanooga, Tennessee. The layout has a segment that has a waterfalls and bridge that is part of that run. We are looking for a modeler to build that scene that is master scenery guy. Do you know of anyone? They could work on it at home and then we'll set it up when it's finished. Captain Rob. Now, if any of you would be interested in talking to Captain Rob, I have his email address. If you'll let me know, I'll be glad to forward your name and so forth to him to help him find somebody that would be interested in trying to work with that club to build that bridge for the museum. I think it's down.
So thank you.
Captain Rob,
Yes.
would you like to talk about it a little bit, sir?
This is the old Chattanooga choo-choo layout that has been moved to the Tennessee Valley Museum. And they've been working on it for about 2 years. It's a huge layout. It's a prototypical layout. It's going to be open to the public. And they have some scenes that they just want to do a real good job with. And it's way beyond my pay grade. So, you know, I'm good with electricity. I know to keep one hand in my pocket when I'm working with the railroads, but I have no idea of how to do a scene with a waterfall, a bridge, or a trestle. So
What kind of bridge is it? Do you know?
it is actually on the rat hole. So it would be prototypical. They take a picture of it and bring it down to the model.
And I assume the museum would cover the material cost?
Oh, yes, they are very generous. So, in fact, the club that we have in there, they even supplied the wood. They cleaned out the room. It was the old MRA headquarters before we got moved to California. Before that, it was a Southern Railway bookcase museum, and they have polished that up. They put in lights. If the club needs lumber for the layout, they cut it. They deliver it. You know, it's $30 a year to be a member of our club. It's $100 a year to be a member of the Tennessee Valley Model Railroad Association. And for $300, you get to be a lifetime member, which lets you be on the trains. They actually have day-long trips coming out of the back of this museum. It's right in Chattanooga. It's right off the expressway. It's about 5 minutes off the road. And I'd be glad to work with anybody or connect them with the guy in charge of seeing them.
That's great. And Captain Rob, if you could put your email address in the chat function so that whoever is on the show right now could find your email, that'll save me from having to forward it. Whoever sends it to me, forward it to you.
I can do that.
Are you paying for this job, or is it just volunteer?
I don't know.
Because I have a outstanding MMR in Atlanta who could get to Chattanooga very easily, and of course he knows where this location is. And he does work on a contract basis.
Is that Phil Steed?
No.
Morris Smith?
No.
Okay.
Peter Youngblood.
Okay. I've not talked to him yet. Okay, let me put my email in there. And then
He owned the hobby shop in Kennesaw.
Oh, okay. I did not know him. I shop with Steve, the Blue Ox, down in Roswell. Okay. And this would be a chance for somebody to be kind of immortalized.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Captain Rob. And like I say, if you'll put your email in the chat, then anybody that's interested can contact you directly and we'll go from there. And if you find somebody and so forth, or you want to show some pictures of the layout some other time, please let me know, and I'd love to see them.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this Christmas, they're going to have the layout running. Next Christmas, they're going to have it all scenery done. So there's some time.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to go and start the program with our quick tip. And we have a guest doing it tonight, Pat Rivard. Pat, welcome. Thank you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna try share the screen. I think I might have lost those pictures. I lost the stupid pictures.
Okay, then I'm sorry, we'll have to come back another time for this quick tip.
Here they are.
Oh, you found them? Okay.
Yep. Okay. Everybody has their problem with this. Let me know. Can you see this one okay?
All I see is you.
Oh, we'll have to do it another time. I can't seem to get it on.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Pat. And
Sorry about that, Jeff.
we'll
Are you
talk to you
pressing
later.
the share button that's down below?
Yeah,
So go ahead and push the share button.
I did.
What do you see?
Everything but my pictures. Launch meeting inbox.
When you
Just
hit
use
share
the-
screen, so the upper left picture, you see a bunch of pictures there. When you click share screen, you see a bunch of pictures, right? A bunch
No,
of video
there's-
images.
Just a
Don't
second.
look for anything. I don't want you, click on the green share screen.
I did.
Okay, a window opened up, right?
Yes.
And there's a bunch of little pictures on it. The upper left of all
Yeah.
those, the upper left one should look like your video screen of us talking
Yeah,
to
I
you.
got that one.
Double click on that and share that.
Okay. Can you see that?
Hang on, wait, it's not sharing yet. There it is. Yes, now we can see it. You're
Okay.
seeing a photo collection. So now whatever you click on to make large, we will see. You're all good.
Okay, I'm clicking on this one.
Yep.
And the
See
only other
everybody
thing you want to
holding
do
these?
is go up and click the button to make it full screen on your computer. The little thing that makes it full, that one right there. No, you stop sharing.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry.
So go ahead and do the same thing to share again. Upper left, double click.
Okay. You just can see this picture okay?
Yeah, use the bottom there to make it full. That one there, click that
Right here?
right there. Click that bar thing there.
You see this okay?
There. Yep, now
Yep.
it's full screen.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's good.
Yeah, you see these paintbrushes and how all of us seem to have problems keeping it sorted out. Hopefully I can get the next picture here. And here's my solution. You notice these bottles I'm holding? About every one of us seem to see what they hold are prescriptions. And I often wonder what we can do with these things. So as I move along, there's the size I really like, the big ones. That doesn't mean I take a lot of drugs anyway. Take the bottom of this bottle, drill a hole through it. See that hole there? Take a screwdriver, electric screwdriver, and an extension on it. Put the screw through the bottom. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Then you screw it onto a piece of board about 1x4. Screw them all down. Drop all your brushes in there, and you can easily obtain them anytime you want.
That's a neat idea.
You like that?
I like that.
You can use all sizes too. I put the smaller brushes, glue brushes and that in here. And then up here, I use it for the bigger brushes. And it's so easy to grab what you need. You can even put your pencils and pens in there. Stir sticks and the little file sticks. I just lay it on my bench and use it anytime I need it. And that's my quick tip.
Works for me. Thanks so much, Pat. Really
You're
appreciate
welcome. We made it.
it.
Thanks very much, Pat.
You're welcome. Now if I can get out of this.
Well, now while Pat's getting out of this, I want to turn to Rick and Marie Hunter for their build along of their 81-foot trestle from Hunterland Kit. Rick, Maureen, help.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh, and they have a new computer tonight, and Rick says he's supposed to look much handsomer. I didn't see any difference, but
Yeah, we did get a new computer because the last one died. Completely.
He
And
looks better.
we have set up on this whole computer is Zoom, just for tonight, because all the software gets loaded on tomorrow. Okay, we have a lot to cover tonight. This is a very important session. We got a couple little preliminary things that we want to get out of the way while we're thinking about it. You should have a lot of bents made, and you got all those? Oh, I haven't switched cameras yet. Okay. I forget about that all the time. Switch cameras. There we go.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, so we've got all our bents that hopefully you were able to get finished. I'm not sure, putting all those NBWs on those bents. And I think before we attach them to the tie stringers, it's a good time to go back and just touch up all the cut ends that you see. So I'm just going to quickly do that. And also you can, at this time, do some dry brushing and put different colors on that, on the bents. But I'm going to take I use medium brown for my base color. So I'm just going to take it straight from the bottle and just touch up all my cut ends.
And you do notice that Maureen has the weathering mix bottle inside a tape so it doesn't tip over.
So it doesn't spill on me. You know, I've done that before. Okay, so that's my medium brown. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of dark brown on my bents.
We were talking about dark brown earlier before the show started. This is one of the places you can use it, guys.
No, tie brown we were talking about.
Oh, we were talking about tie brown.
Yeah.
Okay.
This isn't quite as dark as the tie brown.
Okay.
But I'm going to just dry brush a little bit of dark brown on here. So I put my brush right directly into the stain and then just dab some of it off. And I'm just going to, here and there, add some dark brown. It's probably hard for you to pick it up, but you'll see on your own model when you're doing it, just the interest that it gives. It just gives another little dimension. And once you're happy with that, then I always follow up with our, which is we were talking about this before the show too tonight. It's really not a creosote color. It's really a black wash color. We didn't want to change the name of it. So we left it at creosote black. So what I like to do is just put a light wash right across all your NBWs that you so painstakingly were able to get in there. And you'll see when you do that, they'll just pop. It just highlights them.
It's kind of like a plumbing application when you put solder, it rings around. Well, you'll take each one of those MBWs and draw a ring around it, and then you'll be able to see that it's actually a hex head nut.
And this is always a good time too to take your bents and put in the dirt and grime and grease that you might see. If you were out there looking at some of those trestles, you'll see that it's really dark at the top where all the grease and grime come from the tracks and the engines. So you can take it straight from your bottle and just take it over the top, run it across the top, and it'll just stream down your posts, which has a nice effect. And then you can turn your bent upside down and do the same from the bottom. Just put it on full strength and
Rick,
let it
if-
swing down.
Rick, if I could interrupt,
Yeah,
even with your new computer, your demo video gets choppy and sometimes your voice gets choppy. So you might turn off your facial camera for now.
I don't know how to do that yet.
How do you do that?
Anybody tell me how to do that?
All you have to do is where, if you look down at the bottom of the screen,
Mhm.
on the Zoom screen, it says stop video, just click stop video. Just touch stop video.
Okay,
There you
there
go.
we go.
Yeah, is that better?
It
Yeah.
gives all your bandwidth to the share.
Okay,
Okay.
because our bandwidth has not changed.
Okay. So that's what you can do with all your bents. It's easier to do it now rather than when your bridge is all put together. So we've got that all done. So you've got 4 bents that you should have done. We've got them here, 4 of them. And I've got mine all stained, ready to go. And then we had asked that you try and get the abutment wall assembly done. And that's on page 14 of your instructions. So what I've done, just because of the interest of time, is I have cut all the retaining wall planks. And there's the drawing for that. All the retaining wall planks are 3x12s. So I was busy using Al Collins' Ultimation slicer to do all my.
This is the new machine. It's not quite available yet. This is one of the prototypes. But if you're interested, get in touch with Al.
It was really quite quick. I knew I had to make 2 pieces of every size lumber because there's 2 abutment walls. So I just laid my first piece on the drawing and cut it. And then I could cut 2 the same using the slicer. It really is quite nice. It slices just like butter.
Just talking about that, this is not a chopper. Okay, it's a blade, a chisel blade that comes down and actually slices it. And it's working really well.
Yeah, it works great. So I've gone ahead and added some of my planking here, but I was just going to show you tonight how I apply the glue to that to put those planks on. And you'll see that and they're all quite nicely staggered here. You know, that doesn't really matter. You can make those planks as long or whatever is needed in the place that you're going to put this trestle. You might need walls that are a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, whatever. So I've got a few pieces here left to put on. So what I usually do is just take my glue and draw myself a little line of glue. I don't get ahead of myself too much, maybe enough to apply 3 pieces or so. And for this one, I can go right across the top here too, because I'm at the end. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the planks are certainly attached and glued to the abutment wall, to the abutment frame, and also to the previous plank. So I just run a little bead of glue. I try not to put too much on. A little bead of glue along the plank before I apply it. And then just pop it in there. And of course, wipe off the excess glue. And the next one. A little zealous on the glue on that one.
Now you don't have to actually go right to the top. It's just to get most of them on.
Yeah.
Because what happens later is the sill, the top sill,
Mhm.
that will match up with the, if I can see this here, with the stringers. Okay, so that top sill will be later glued to the underside of the stringers.
Yeah.
And then you can put more planking on it to cover the stringers.
Yeah, so I'm not going to add this last piece because it's a little bit longer than that top sill. So I'm just going to leave that off. And once the bridge is set up and glued, all the bents are glued in place and the abutment walls are glued in place, I'll add those pieces later. And I'll show you that when we get to that point. So you should have 2 abutment walls like that. Okay. Of course, you're not going to see the backside. That's going to be against the
earth.
The earth. It's only that side that you'll see. You can, at this time, if you want, you can touch up all your ends, your cut ends if you want to, or this is okay to do after the bridge is put together because you can reach those areas quite easily. So that's done. We need to put down our drawing, the side view of the trestle. Excuse me. So I'm just going to tape this down.
You don't really need wax paper for this one.
Not at this point.
So with the retaining wall, you sort of have to make sure that the pretty side is up against the posts.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one of the things about when you distress all 4 sides. You can always pick and choose which side looks the best that's viewed. So the retaining walls there, I always say, okay, this side doesn't look so good. This side looks great. So it's what you will view later.
Okay, so I don't know if I can push this a little bit further, Rick, here. Watch the computer.
Okay.
Can I get that in there?
Yep.
Okay.
Now this is tricky and it takes a lot of skill. It just takes some patience. So what Maureen is going to do is put down the tie stringer assembly, which you should have completed by now.
And what you want to do just before we get into that is make sure that your stringers are pretty much even at both ends. Just take a file and make sure that they're even. Give them a good file. Okay. And then take that stringer assembly, put it upside down. See that? Pull that down, okay. And just lay it up against your drawing, making sure that the ends are matching the ends of the stringer on that side view of the trestle. Okay. And then usually what I do is I like to work from left to right. So I'll start at this end and I'll take one of my abutment walls.
Just before we get started in this is one of the options you can have here is that the bents don't all have to be equal distance. They're actually a scale 16 foot center to center, but they don't have to be. Like a lot of times you'll see that there's a little roadway or a little river that goes underneath. So I don't think any of ours are actually,
You can't show that, okay.
I don't think any of ours, you can see that could feasibly have a little creek going through it or a little roadway. So you can actually move those 2 center ones outwards.
Okay, move the 2 bents.
This is getting into a lot of variations that you can do.
So you could set them further apart.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I think for this purpose, just so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to work right to left. Okay, so I'm going to take that abutment wall, take it with the side of the framing is facing towards the center, and you want to get that right up against, right to the edge of the stringers, and you want to make sure that it's centered. I don't know if people can see
Now,
that.
one of
but-
the best ways of centering it is each one of the bents. You can see the two that are vertical in the center. They're actually vertical. So you can line those up with the center of the stringers. So you can see that right there. That's pretty close. So what's going to happen is you're going to do this.
Yeah. And that's what you can do with your abutment wall as well. That's the piece I'm going to add first. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to put it on the stringers at the end. I'm going to put a fair amount here so it holds it and get it lined up flush with the end of the stringers. Okay. And in the center. And you can take your square and just set it up beside. I don't know if they can see that, but
Might have to move the whole thing. Oh, yeah, you can see it. You
see,
can see
yeah,
it.
okay. So that looks pretty good, I think.
Just let that sit for a few minutes,
Yeah.
a few seconds.
And then you're going to go to the next one and you just want to line up your bent with the bent on the drawing. Okay.
Now, one of the ways to get it square is to, when you place it, see what the relationship for the top sill that you're gluing is to the ties. If it's a little crooked to the ties, chances are it is a little crooked. So the placement of this is pretty important. At the end, one of the things we have to do is we view along all the bents and make sure they're all lined up.
So I'm going to put my glue right directly along the pathway of that bent and stick that bent in.
It's a good thing you can't see me because I have to blow my nose every few seconds.
And again, you want to make sure it's centered too. So take those two posts in the middle of your bent and just line them up as carefully as possible.
Maybe just look downwards to make sure they're square to the ties.
Yeah. It's kind of tricky. You have to just be patient. I'm just going to take off some excess glue here. I think that looks pretty good. I have to take that square and make sure it's.
One of the questions, sometimes trestle is on an incline, and that's fine, but the bents have to be plumb to the earth. So because this is a level bridge, they all just happen to be the same square. Now, it can come back a little later before it actually sets up completely.
So I'm going to go on to the next one and put my glue directly along the path of that bent and stick the next bent on. Trying to center it. I have to try and eyeball it from the top as well. Oops. Just taking off the excess glue. This one looks a little.
Maureen, when you're trying to center that by eyeball,
Yeah,
what are you really looking at to do your centering?
yeah. I'm looking at the two posts on the bent here. I can
See,
show
see
you.
these two bents?
Yeah.
These posts, they are absolutely vertical. So what you're trying to do is center those two to the center of the stringers.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
space, yeah, the space between the stringers there.
So one of the
Yep.
things that happens later is when these are all on, they all have to line up exactly all the way through. You can't have one a little this way and one a little that way. They all, and that's an eyeball thing again. So when Maureen gets all these on, then we will eyeball it from the end and make sure they're all in relationship to each other straight.
Right.
Now, you do not put the other abutment wall on because you still have parts that have to go inside. So the other abutment does not go on yet.
Okay, I've got the third one.
Like I say, this is where you can start to get creative and not do them equal distance if you want. And sometimes they're a little skewed. I've seen them with roadways and the roadway is not perpendicular to the bridge. So the ones that right beside the roadway are skewed just a little bit.
It's pretty good. And I've got one more.
Rick, when you say skewed, what do you mean?
Instead of like this, they're like that. So they're like that.
They would be at an angle,
Yes.
but they would still have to line up, right?
Yeah, they should. Again, you can still use those center two posts as your center line.
Gotcha.
Like actually some trestles are quite creative in the artistic thing of it. Can you guys hear the rain? This is just gushing out here.
Okay, so that's my last one. And I think it looks all right, but I'm gonna go to the end of the,
I don't know if I can show this. Okay, go for it.
I'm just gonna eyeball here. And it looks pretty good, actually.
See, while the blue is still not completely set up, this is where you can do little minor adjustments
Yeah. I'm just gonna
and check the squareness.
check the squares. I don't know how to do that one, Rick. I should have done that, I guess, before I put the end on, but yeah, check your, what do you call it, perpendicularness? Is that a word? I don't
The
know.
plumbness.
Plumbness, okay. Okay, so there's your 4 bents, the 1 abutment wall. That's as far as we can go tonight because the next step is flipping this over and putting the other
The sway braces.
the sway, the girt,
Oh, the girts.
the
Yeah.
girts on.
See, the girts are what makes all these go together, and they actually slide through each one of these. So you
Yeah.
can start to cut those to length if you want.
Yeah, it's the 6x10s that are the girts. So if you haven't stained those and distressed them yet, make sure you've got that done for next week.
So once this is all set up, then you can take your girt. Now, don't do this week. Wait for next week. And it slides through every one of those all the way across.
Well, you can probably see it here.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. The girts are in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. And
It's starting to look like a trestle.
yeah,
A little upside down, but okay.
yeah, so next week, yeah, it'll be turning it right side up, putting the girts in, getting that other abutment wall on, and starting with all the bracing.
You can, if you want, do some of the pre-cuts on the sway braces. Now, if you're using it just like we are, right to the drawing, then the drawing should be okay to cut all the pieces. Now they're different. Okay. The ones at the end are longer. Can't see it here.
Can't see it.
Yeah, like this one here.
Oh, there.
This is much longer than any of the other ones. But this is a pair. This is a pair. Like they should all be about the same.
Unless you've changed the position of your bents,
Yes.
then don't use the drawing to cut them. But definitely have them weathered or distressed and stained.
Yep.
And they're 3x10s.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's.
Is that wrapped up for today? So
Yeah,
we
that's
went
all.
over what to do next.
Yep.
We're almost there.
Well, guys, I think you've done a fantastic job, and I look forward to you coming back next week and doing a little bit more on this trestle. Like Rick said, it is starting to look like a real trestle.
Yeah.
Thanks so much to both of you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
I have There's a quick question about why is it called a girt?
A girt? And that is a good question,
Yeah.
okay? I think it's because it aligns them and it just joins them all together. Now, one of the things that is weird about the girt is it doesn't sit on the cross member. It sits against the post. And the post is actually battered, so it's on a little bit of a slant. And the girt actually gets on that slant. Sometimes girts are farther out from it, but the way we do it, it goes right down the middle of each side.
Start your video. Oh, start your video. Down here, down here.
So in other words, it's attached to the it's attached to the bents, not the parallel.
Right. So it goes the full length. And that's why we leave the other end off, so you can thread it through all the posts. You follow?
Yeah. But the original question was Greg Cassidy's, not mine. But I also wanted to know what it was. So
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up this week. Why is it called a girt? A girder? I don't know.
There's
Okay, thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
somebody had an answer.
Now I'd like to turn to Martin Brechbiel, MMR, for his build along of the Leadville Designs Maintenance of Way Car. Martin, I really appreciate you doing this because I was really impressed with Leadville Designs when I first found out about them. And I appreciate you taking this on. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can get this going here. Come on. Oh, well, whatever. One slide too fast. But you've already given me the title and who I am, so I guess if one slide too fast doesn't matter too much at this point. But it's a narrow gauge car, which I generally don't do narrow gauge cars, but it's a maintenance away car and I can't resist such a thing. So that's why I'm doing it. I am a sucker for anything with maintenance away attached to it. So here's what you get in the box.
Is that old scale?
This is ON3.
Okay.
But I believe they sell an HON3 as well. But I'm doing the ON3 because one, I can't see fiddly small parts smaller than ON3. And I'm an O-scale modeler, and it's rare that exceptionally rare that I build anything in HO. I think it's happened 4 or 5 times in the last 20 years. This is what you get. You got a plastic bag full of wood bits, a plastic bag full of fiddly bits, and some decals. But here's what else you get. You get instructions, and these are exceptional because, well, I'll go through them with you. That's why, and you'll see why. But they actually list all the parts. They give you a little working with 3D printed hardware primer, just so you know what you're doing, and so your parts don't fly off into the ether and never be found again. You get a fret of etched brass parts very nicely. They are all identified, so you don't have to guess what you're cutting apart and what you're folding and what you're snipping and what you're dropping on the floor and stepping on later. It's all right there, identified for you. This is a nice, very nice piece of information that way too many kit builders could actually take note of and learn. Tell the modeler what the heck the parts are. Gosh, what a concept. All your wood parts, color coded, so you can actually identify every single piece of wood that's in that bag. So at this point, you don't have an excuse for putting it together wrong. And my job's done. No, it's a little more complicated than that. But this is really helpful. It's remarkably handy. And I don't have the other page, which actually is a scale schematic of the underbody, which I photocopied. I recommend, scan it in and print yourself out a copy. You can just have that in front of you while you look at the other parts, because somewhere, well, I don't have it. There's a step by step set of instructions. You follow every step along the way. So it guides you through the entire build. So here's what the bag of wood bits are. And there's the floor, some underbody parts, sides, exterior sides, interior sides, exterior ends, interior ends, needle beams, roof walk supports, windows, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, in the baggie of goodies, the fiddly bits. Okay, so this is a moderately large Petri dish, and I use 3 or 4 or 5 of these at any given moment to keep parts sorted out and from falling away or where I can't find them, stepping on them later. So I can find stuff specifically, and I'll sort this out and put the brass fret in one place, all the brake gear stuff in another place, another dish, all the NBWs in another dish, just so I can find stuff and it's safe and not going to go flying into space somewhere. The pair of scissors is actually for the etched brass parts. The scalpels are for surgery if I am so called to do so on myself. But they're particularly good for freeing up the laser cut parts from the surrounding wood. Okay, tools, adhesives, other fun stuff, scalpels. I like scalpels, weights for holding stuff when you're gluing it, small scissors, hemostats and tweezers. You just can't have too many of those. I recommend it, grab as many as you can, all types of shapes and sizes. Clamps, you don't have enough of those. Pin vise and drill bits. You'll probably break at least 2 on the average. Dremel, I use a cordless Dremel for all kinds of things now. Really moved over for that, for drilling everything, sanding stuff, cutting stuff, sanding sponge or sticks, cutting blocks. Cutting blocks are just a hunk of wood that's nice and flat and hard that you can cut against, and things won't get lost. The micrometer is extremely useful because you have 3 or 4 different sizes of wire. And later on, you find out that you may need to actually measure those NBW bolt pieces so you know which size drill to use. The numbers and drill bit numbers that the instructions give you aren't quite right. Some of them are actually probably for the HON3 kit. So you'll come up against a NBW and look at the drill bit and say, can't put a 10-pound bag in a 1-pound bag. Now, 10 pounds in a 1-pound bag, you need a larger drill bit. Straight side pliers, they're very handy for bending things accurately. I like medium viscosity CA, Walther's glue, tight bond wood glue, and a nice glass work surface. Something flat really helps, and something that you can get what you've glued to it back off from. So, parts, underbody sills, center assembly. these actually have holes in them for your train line. You have to remember there are left and rights. The other slots are for the brake gear. It matters which way you align things on this kit. You can see there are laser cut lines right here, here. There's a set of lines in here, set of lines here. There's a top and a bottom to these pieces. So you have to put this kit together right side up, or you're going to be lost as to where to put everything later. Because these lines tell you where to put the needle beams, the brake gears, and all kinds of other parts like your bolsters, etc. This floor has actually got an etch mark, so you have a centering. So you know where it goes in the middle. Just make sure you get it right side up. So 1 by 1 by 2 inch steel blocks. That's what I just use for weights. I have lead bricks as well, but they seem to be a little bit overkill for 0 and 3. You just glue this down. I use tight bond glue. It takes it down, come back in 20 minutes. It's tight enough so you can proceed forward. Okay. The instructions sort of imply that you build the brake system off of the car and then pick it all up and install it later. I'm not quite sure how you do that unless you're really, 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 really competent. I'm not that good to do that and then thread everything through the needle beams, glue them in place, glue the brake system in place, get it all lined up at first. It's just too complicated for me to do that. So I'm going to build it in place. It's much easier. All the marks are scribed on the underbody. You know where everything goes, or you should know where everything goes if you read the instructions. So, prep for installing underbody kits. You need some of these brass parts because there's platforms in here like that one right there, which hold up your brake gear. You don't need these right away, but you're going to need some of these parts. You do not need all of the parts. That's kind of an important thing to do because you may go crazy trying to figure out where do these parts go? Well, they don't go in this car. They go back in the box or in your extra bits and pieces drawer. They're just not going to get used. Okay, so we've got a split K-brake underbody. A lot of odds and ends here. These are supports out of the brass fretwork for this air tank. This plug goes in the brake cylinder. These are the levers. They have a orientation. It's worth stopping and looking at the underbody plans that I said you should scan in and print out a copy. Look at everything 3 or 4 times to get it right the first time after you've assembled it. Taking it apart later is no fun. So this plug goes in the end here. There's a hole in the end. This piece actually you chop off and then you sand it, rounding it over neatly. Whatever neatly means. Okay, there's 2 different levers. You need to match them up against the plan. They each have a direction. They each have, there's a little knob off of them angled that shows where the connections are for the rods that connect the brake system. You snip them out of the fret, clean up all the extra little bits from the fret. Do not let them go off into space. You only got the 2. And I don't know about getting extras, but once they're off into space, they might as well be in orbit around the moon somewhere because you won't find them until you're 2 years from now when you walk barefoot in your shop and it sticks in your foot. You take a file and file these little pieces off. I use the drum sander off my little battery-powered Dremel. It's very fragile. It's very thin. We're looking at 10,000ths or less brass. So I support that entire length with the hemostat. Then you just touch that with the sanding drum for a few seconds and it's gone. Or if you want to take a few more seconds than that, you can take a fine file and just file it off. So you got a tidy reservoir. It's kind of test fitted on the supports. The supports are right here. That's where they go. Here's your air cylinder with the plug put in. Test fit one of the levers. That goes right here where it's etched marked. So you know where everything's going to go. The problem is with these little tricky is that these don't really, you can't solder brass to plastic very well. So this one you have to glue. And again, through here, you got to remember there's a train line coming through in your needle beams. Again, I keep saying it, you got to get your needle beams oriented in the right direction and ream them out now with a drill bit. Make sure they're going to accept that 33 thousandths wire now, because trying to ream them out after they're glued in place is a lot harder. So it's a lot of advanced work. Just prep work on the individual pieces, make sure everything fits before gluing stuff together. So I've put the mounts for the reservoir in place. I'm using a little bit of glue, a little bit of CA mixed together. Once they're in place, they don't move ever again. The air cylinder's in place. I actually soldered this one to a little bit of brass wire because I have enough moving parts. Once it starts going together, more moving parts than I have fingers in this small space. So just a little touch of flux, a little touch of millimeter or less solder and iron, and it's already on. So see if we can get everything hooked up together now. So let's back up for just a second. You can see these two little pieces right here sticking out. That's where this piece of brass wire goes. And you can see the holes here. This one goes to your goes through the needle beam. So now's a good time to grab the needle beam, thread it through, thread the brass wire through. Now you only have what? 1, 2, 3, 4 moving parts at the same time that you're going to hook together. Hope they all stay into place. You got to bend the brass wire with like a 90-degree angle on it and drop some glue in there all at the same time. It's very doable because you do know where you're going. And again, I keep harping on it's directional. The train line, there's a hole over here. Got to make sure the two needle beams are in the right direction. Do the other end. Drop the wire in, drop the needle beam in. There's a little piece of wire that goes, piece of plumbing that connects the air tank over here. This is a little tricky to do because you got to wrap it around, over and under and through this needle beam. It is an opportunity for colorful language, strong beverages, and momentary frustration, but I assure you it can go through and you can make it happen. It's a little funny shape, wrapping around and up and over, but it does go. It will fit. Okay, so we've got everything installed, linked up. We've got a brake to each end, off to the brake staff at the end of the car. Our levers are connected. I think I went back and resoldered some of these pieces just because I got tired of them moving around, because when I flipped the thing over, it all fell apart, which was another instance for good, colorful language. Well, I haven't put the train line in yet. Okay, well, and that's about as far as I'm going to go this week, because the underbody was enough to test anybody's patience. It's a critical part of the car because without it, it's pretty naked underneath there. And this is where we're going to stop, and everybody can catch up and figure out how not to get totally frustrated putting all these little tiny pieces together. But I assure you it can be done. If I can do it, most primates can probably do it as well. And there's a part 2, and we'll come back next week. So there you are, Jim.
Martin, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your work on this. That's really a beautiful job. Anybody have any questions for Martin?
I do. Martin, what manufacturer do you use for your scalpel blades?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't bought a scalpel blade in probably 15 years. I had enough of them squirreled away from work. They're actually Japanese. So I don't know, at least they say made in Japan on them. But if you want, I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the chat. I'll go get one and actually figure out what it is. I'll get you the brand name.
Thank you.
Sure. That's for the number, that'll be, I think that'll be, it's the same brand name for the number 11, 12, 22, 23s. The 15 is something completely different. I don't know where those came from. They're very odd. But I'll get that for you.
Thanks, Martin. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Now let's turn to my bill. So that means, Chris, it's all your show.
Oh, thanks, Jim. We have we've gotten a ton of responses, a lot of them in the last 24 hours even. I sat down and start putting the show together, and then I just found more and more and more, and emails kept flowing in, and I'm like, okay, here we go. So let's load it up. So here we go, guys. We will start out. We get all the way back to the beginning on the slideshow here, and then we will share screen. All right. And maximize that little puppy. There we go. All right. So first off, we'll start with James Schultz. You up, James?
I am here.
All right.
So I on the layout, I'm going to have quite a few of these log cars, and I am currently going to build 8 of them total. So a couple of prototypes show the different styles of bunks. They're all 40-foot cars. They hauled a lot of pine with them. Let's see. Okay, next one.
All right.
Here is the car, and it started life as an AHM, which you can buy them for $2-3 a piece. You can see in the lower left-hand corner here, the complete car versus the AHM, which is a very crude car. I built the bunks out of styrene. I built myself a template, and I followed the template and built 4 masters. And then I have a friend who will 3D print the rest for me. But the cars were open. They had an open floor plan to them. The ends were solid. They were all wood on the ends. I put all the rigging underneath. You can see the airlines and the piston, and these have Proto 48 trucks under them. Let's see here. What else can I talk about here? All of the molded on detail there has been removed, and I added brand new stirrups, added brand new grab irons. I'll have flexible air hoses, and then I believe there's one more photo of it.
Yep,
there they are. This we were cutting down some pine trees in the backyard, and I just took 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch pine trees, come out to 2 and 3 foot in O scale, cut them to length, and I sealed all the wood with super glue. Amazingly enough, super glue is probably the best sealer you can get for wood. And then I laid them on the car, and I'll chain them down after the car is painted and decaled, and you'll be able to lift it out with the chain and then set them in there, and it'll be perfect load for them.
Those are really nice. They'll work out very well.
Thank you.
Any questions? What is this? There's something in the chat.
Yes, I have one question.
Okay.
Sure.
You use the super glue to seal the wood itself. What do you mix with the super glue? Is it just straight on?
Straight on super glue. I use the thin CA, and it's basically like water, and it will seal wood. Yeah. And is the best sealer there's ever been for wood. I use it on any wood projects.
That'll prevent it from splitting on the ends.
Absolutely. Yep.
Good idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah, you just get the nice big bottles of thin CA, and that's all I use it for. It's great.
And you use the cheap stuff if you want.
Yeah, you can use cheap stuff. You can, and it's like I said, the end grains will soak up a 1/4 bottle of super glue. It's kind of nuts.
Wow.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, thank you.
James, you use that on your wood structures too?
I sure do. I use it on my wood freight cars, wood structures, everything. And then the nice part is with super glue, once it's dry, you can sand it to an absolute mirror finish.
And then you paint over it?
Correct. Yep. You can paint right over it.
Good idea.
I've never heard of that before. That's I think that's a great tip.
Well, and the best part is super glue after 30, 40 years will not split. We've had a couple of cars on the layout that were sealed with sanding sealer. And after 20 years, the sanding sealer gave out and the car split. And a friend of ours, Bill Flint, came up with the idea. And 30 years later, cars using super glue have never split, never warped, nothing.
I'll be done.
And that's your
Learn something every day.
second, and that's the second quick tip for this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super glue for sealer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that.
All right. Any more questions for James?
Nice looking cars.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do come out really nice. All right. Next, Chris Blackmar. You up, Chris?
I'm here and I don't know if, okay. If you will recall, I was trying to build a small diorama. And these two structures are part of the diorama. And the next slide, we will be going to the next inspiration. I was pulling from a Tom York sketchbook, and I was building kind of a bordello. If we go to the next slide. It's not quite the bordello, but I'm going to build both of these structures. And for the bottom of the two-story building, I am using the downtown deco kit on the next slide of Bingo's Pool Hall. So we kind of went through, if we go to the next slide, the basic coloring and everything last month. And so this is what I kind of ended up with, showing the base and the sidewalk surfaces and the stucco and brickwork on it. All of this is in HO scale, by the way. Okay, if we go to the next slide, this is the resin front facade, and I've kind of made the modifications to it, cutting down the top, and the basic base weathering at this point has been applied to it. And so we'll be doing some more with this in a little bit. Next slide. The box cars again, or the box car for that freight station is being scratch built. And here you can see the base coats being applied here, and then it's sitting on some baby building blocks. And just for Martin here, I put in a broken queen post and added that one brick of wood there. However, quite frankly, all of this is going to be hidden behind some decking and planking and stuff. So if we just go on to the next slide. So that's where we were last month. And here's where I'm at right now. This one, the downtown deco walls have gotten on their first stage of layering in the weathering process. I've also added some light yellow weathering. This is actually more of a tinting technique, almost to a glaze weathering process. And then I've also used a little bit of darker inks and a few things here on the shadows underneath the stucco. I'll be doing that some more here a little bit later on to bring that out a little bit further. If we go to the next slide.
Yep.
And here, let's see here. I need to move some of my things here. This slide shows that I wanted to do a water slide decal for this. This is going into the sandbox write-up. And so I know some people use weather or water slide decals. I applied this one. It was the only one I had that really didn't cover up the entire wall. I don't like it, but I did go on ahead and apply it, and I've tinted it down to kind of match a little bit of what's going on here. And the next slide. Here I've done the base coat on the door, nothing fancy here. Just notice that the door is really just plain plaster at this point. So we're gonna have to do a little bit more to make it look a little bit more realistic. And the next slide. After we go through about 4 or 5 steps, which I'll describe in detail in the write-up, this is kind of what you end up with. It's still not quite completed. To me, it looks like it's got some wet matte medium on it, but when it's a little bit further from the eye and in a different angled light, it doesn't reflect quite as badly. But I still need to do 3 more layers of weathering on it at this point in time. Next slide. And this kind of gives you an overall view of kind of where I've started to go. The walls have now been attached to it. The inside of the walls, you'll notice, are still raw, and so is that floor area. All of that will be covered with construction paper to make it black. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see here's the construction paper applied, and I've currently gone on ahead and have built the second floor and a few things. You can see some styrene that I applied across the back here. For my window glass, I use actually the backing of a decals from print shops, and it's a little bit more slick than the acetate, and my styrene and the window curtains didn't quite hang very well, and so they just got nixed, but I left the styrene in here just as a little bit of a support. And the next slide. Let's see here. This is a very light coat of the base weathering on the car. A little bit earlier, it was just pretty plain. So here we're starting to bring in some of the weathering. The next slide. So that's about the first of about 8 different steps. I then went through and put on the roof. I'm actually using for my template on this a old instruction sheet from Clear Creek Models and one of their narrow gauge box cars, a 27-foot box car. And I just totally got in a rush and totally made a disaster out of this, as you can plainly see. So this is going to take a little bit of work, and you guys can follow along and see how I can manage to retrieve this thing. And here a little bit of that base weathering shows up on the side here with the O and the R on the right-hand side of the Colorado Southern. You can see how it's starting to change colors. I know that the 8025 is well below where it's supposed to be. For the life of me, I could not figure out where it was supposed to fit on. The 25 was supposed to fit with that door, or excuse me, window cut. So I just applied a second decal and then use the boards to kind of align. And then that will be the 8025 that's showing here will be covered up with a sign or something else yet. I just haven't quite decided how I'm going to mask that little faux pas. And next slide. This is a couple of other layerings of weathering down on the roof. And since then I've gotten, I think, about 7 more layers on it. So it's actually well advanced at this point in time. But this one shows how You can actually really screw something up by using a light wash of something and applying a second light wash before the first one dries. And so you can see that there's just way too much on here. And so that one I had to do a little bit to recover from also. And the next slide. I've also on the sideline, because I've been waiting around for hours for things to dry. I've been doing a bunch of research, primarily identifying on how fine artists are using oil paints, coupled with the guys in the military group who are using the oil paints and things, to try to identify some easy ways to bring it into our modeling system. Their needs, the fantasy painters and the model railroaders and the military guys. The military, static models, and they're hardly ever handled. The fantasy painters, they're handled a whole lot and not so much static, and we're somewhere in between. But we don't have the time to spend 8-10 hours doing glazes and things like that on a single model. So I'm trying to identify a lot of different techniques and modifications to bring that stuff into our realm, because things that we consider really well done, like the washes and things, we leave tide marks and things that in the military arena, they consider that a newbie. So just trying to bring it along. And the other thing that I've started doing is a documentation of a coloring book to go along with all of this in the sandbox series. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and that should be about it.
Yep. Any questions for Chris? All right. We'll move on to Mike Warman next. Mike,
Hi
you
there.
around? There you go.
I am right here. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. This is my model of the Hershey's Barbershop. This barbershop was opened in 1949 by Carl Hershey, and it has been a family business since. He passed it on to his son, Don, in 1980, and Don's daughter now is running it. This is just a single standalone building. Try the next slide.
Yeah, that was all you sent me.
Oh, there should have been another one. There should have been another one with the actual barbershop, but that's okay. That's okay. It looks just like this one. Trust me. Anyway, I was a frequent customer back then, and actually I built this back in like 2011, and I was just getting into doing modeling. This is my first scratch build, and I kind of scoped it out, measured it out, and everything, and so everything except for the side windows and the front and back door, which are Grant line, everything else is scratch built. And the shiny red on there is what the building really looks like. It's not brick, it's sort of like faux brick, and they keep it nice and shiny red. As a matter of fact, they just refurbished it again last year, and it looks beautiful, just as shiny as can be. Throwing in the new flooring and all this other. I entered this in the NESG contest in Chattanooga in 2012, and actually got first place amateur. So I'm really proud of this building as a first try.
Where is this located?
This is located on West Washington Street in the city of Medina, Ohio.
Oh. Neat.
And like I
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, it's interesting that the barbershops have somehow managed to survive all these years. Like when you sent me these, I sent you a picture or sent you back the place my grandfather worked is still in business.
Right. Right.
And I'm sure it probably had the exact same atmosphere or has the same atmosphere.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
The Hershey name here, Carl had a spinning wheel. And kids, when they come in and get their hair cut and then they get a chance to run the wheel, and whatever it lands on, be it a Hershey bar, Hershey's Kisses, or whatever, they got to go into the drawer and pick out their treat. And he kept that up until COVID, when they had to take it out. But I thought that was really interesting. And Saturdays, you don't want to go there on Saturdays because that's when all the parents bring kids in. So, any questions?
is that part of the like the chocolate Hershey family?
He is not a member of that, and I'm not sure how he gets away with it, but he has since 1949.
And Mike, what material did you use to build your walls, scratch build with?
Okay, the walls are sort of a reddish brown plastic material, and I went within the last 5-6 years to try and find more of it. And it seems that this company is out of business. I think it was a European manufacturer, but it is S-scale brick.
It's Holgate and Reynolds.
Huh?
Holgate and Reynolds.
Ah, so you're familiar with them?
Yeah.
Yep.
I picked the material up at a train show, well, of course, before 2011. And I thought this would be pretty cool, like building out of. My demerit on this is I did not put in the through the wall air conditioner.
Okay. So that was a large sheet of embossed brick, and you laminated it on to something else to give it thickness and strength? No?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just this plastic glued together and supported on the inside. And then the paint is called Stoplight Red. But it worked perfect for this building because it's nice and shiny, and that's how it exists.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Mike? All right, I guess we'll move on. Next is Bob Farquhar. Barb, where'd I get that from? Sorry, Bob.
It was a dress I was wearing. I think this is an HO scale scratch build. It started off differently, and I changed around as I, continuing on. But there's this is the underside of the roof. On the top left corner here with the two strips of those 3 LED lights on there. They're 12 volt, but 12 volt got really, really bright. So if we do it for the 9 volt battery, it comes on perfect lighting. So the front part of it is going over top of the gas pumps, and the other one's for the inside. Inside of this is a fully detailed. On that large tank, the white tank on the bottom left there, the 9 volt batteries inside that. And anyway, so it's an on-off switch. You can see the very, very bottom there. There's an on-off switch for the 9 volt battery to charge everything. Yeah. That's it. I don't think there's anything else. Is there another slide?
I think there's one more slide.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep,
there you go. There's how I, from the back corner of the building, doing the wiring, there's a little channel cut into the styrofoam and the plastic. And there's a spot in there, almost a T shape there for the little micro switch of the on-off switch. And the picture on the right shows this covering it up, and then of course doing all the scenery on top of that after. Thank you.
It's funny, you could make that look like they've been doing some work in the parking lot.
True. Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay.
Any questions for Bob on that?
I guess, Bob, you didn't worry about running electrical wires into your gas tank, did you?
No. Actually, the tank just lifts off from the supports there, so you can change the battery if you need.
So Bob, that's just like a he has 9-volt battery, so it's just got the twin snaps on it, and
Exactly.
that's all in the water tank.
Exactly. Just soldered to the wires there, and away we go.
Okay, cool.
With those LEDs, I've used those too, but I'm doing an older period, so you want that old incandescent look. So you just get a translucent paint and you can just put over them, and it dulls down to it looks like more of a yellow hue if you get the old incandescent bulbs.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anybody else?
Cool.
All right. We'll move on to Jamie Bothwell.
Hey, just a couple of quick pictures of the 2 cars I was working on, trying to give you a monthly update. So, I got the sides glued on both of them and they're just making some progress. So, no big deal, but they're just moving along. So.
Yeah, they both look beautiful. That top one, I'd be afraid to touch it with any paint. I'd put a coat of varnish on it and call it good, but.
Oh, I'm disappointed that I heard the super glue tip now, because I probably could have used that back in the day. So instead of several coats of sanding sealer that are on there. So.
Jamie, what does that say? General American Fodler Corporation?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty neat.
So, yeah, the one's an express reefer and the other's a covered hopper. So.
All right. Thanks for sharing. Any any questions for Jamie?
Just a comment on Fodler. They were famous for glass-lined tanks, and that's where Fodler made their money way back when, is making actual glass-lined steel tanks for milk containers and milk transport.
Well, thanks, Jim. I didn't want to ask what it was because I asked too many stupid questions.
These are S scale too, by the way. So.
What kit manufacturer is it, Jamie?
The covered hopper is from Amity Star, and the reefer is from, or the express reefer, is from Kinsman. Neither of those companies are still in business.
Okay.
Okay.
But they can be found occasionally at train shows or whatever. That's both of these came from a train show. So.
If you ever get to one.
Yeah. Someday again, maybe. I don't know.
Do you have any information on this particular company, Rankins, and what train line actually went into Brooklyn that pulled these cars into Brooklyn?
No, I really don't. I picked it because I don't know. A friend of mine had a bunch of these cars that he was selling, and I liked this one the best, so I picked it. So I haven't really bothered to do any research on the company itself. So sorry. I'll try to find something for next month.
Neat. All right. Any more questions for Jamie?
Cool.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll move on. Next is David Schultz. Yep, David. I guess not. He did send in a bunch of pictures. These F9s that he did are really neat. They're O scale. But he said the glass in them is from microscopes. Yeah. It's microscope glass that he put in all the windows. He did a great job. He did a ton of details. In fact, here we go. Here's his write-up. He built
the old Atlas.
Yep.
I can kind of help with that. I was part of that. My dad took old Atlas F9s and he completely and utterly stripped them down to nothing. He took the noses, added P&D parts so that the nose contour was correct. The B units are actually 2 A units. He stripped the one end and then took the other end of an A unit and they put together as a single B. All the fans, I believe they're red caboose or P&D. So they were completely removed and then added all those. Like you said, glass was microscope slides cut to fit. The plate tread on the noses is actually the cigarette wrapper out of a cigarette pack. And then you just cut those and they look like tread plates. Let's see, other details, all the front MU hoses. I'm trying to think of anything else. They have decoders in them, sound tracks decoders. All the lights work, number boards, Mars light, headlights. Yeah, it's I bet you this was a 20-year project.
Oh, wow.
So he started as long as I can remember and finally finished them probably about 10 years ago. So excuse my son. Any questions I can answer for somebody?
Beautiful job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
they are his babies if anything comes to models. So
So I'm going to assume that that's your layout that they're on.
yes, because my dad is currently working on his own, so I have him for now.
So you had to actually build your layout to his standards in order for it to work properly.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Wow.
Cool. Very nice.
Amazing job. 20 years. Wow. That's commitment right there.
Yeah.
Any more questions for James on that? All right. I guess we'll move on
Very nice
then.
job.
Greg, you're up next. You want to talk about the lighthouse?
Yeah, sure. This probably looks familiar to Chris because this is a kind of Wingo kit. It's a lighthouse, and while I don't have anything on my layout where I can put this, it's something that I just really wanted to build. Chris put a lot of engineering into this thing. You don't just brace the inside with strip wood in many cases. He actually has laser cut bracing that goes inside. You have laser cut slots for all the rafters that go in. And the engineering on the tower and the platform that it holds is second to none. I also decided when I was building it that I wanted to light it. So I got a lighting kit from Evan Designs, and they have one that's made for lighthouse that it goes on and off with the sort of pattern that a revolving lighthouse would. You got another slide of this one?
Yes. And I think it's just the two out at the reservoir.
Okay. Yeah, so after I put it together, I was really pleased with it. And I usually like to try and take photographs of my models outside somewhere. So I went to a reservoir that's not that far from me or Chris, and tried to get some night shots for it. Believe it or not, it was almost total dark, but my phone camera tries to lighten everything up. But I'm really happy with the way it came out. And it's a marvelous kit. And it was one of the few that I built without putting very much weathering onto it because I wanted it to look fairly well kept and in good shape. Of course, it is based on the East Channel Lighthouse that's up in Michigan, which is right now being left in its rustic state, which is close to falling apart, but not quite. So it's a far cry from what this looks like now. But I was really pleased to build this and happy with how it came out.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for giving it the attention it needs there, Greg. I ended up actually building another prototype that's sitting on my workbench now that it's actually going to look more like the one up in Michigan. I used a ton of the Hunter line stain on it and I didn't let it sit long enough, so I got to go back and redo that. But it's gonna be hopefully it'll be ready for the show next weekend in Timonium for those that are gonna be there. Are there any questions about the lighthouse?
Great job, Greg.
Thank you, Patrick.
Excellent, Greg. But the one comment would be you need to go back and go in the water and take a picture the other way. The lighthouse reflection in the water. That would have been probably incredibly impressive.
Well, Phil, I took a couple more pictures with it actually sitting on a little rock right next to the water. Unfortunately, I did it on a day that it had rained a few hours earlier, so I found myself lying down in the wet sand and gravel, which was about as wet as I wanted to get. But I'll think about that next time. Thanks.
You gonna take it with you to Rehoboth next month?
I did think of that. I think a picture of it with an ocean behind it would look fantastic. So if I can pack it in the car carefully, I might.
Yeah, take it down to Henlopen or something and do it with Cape Henlopen behind it. That would look pretty cool.
What scale is it?
This is HO scale.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of flowers are in the window?
Those are marigolds.
Now the marigolds don't come with the kit, right?
Correct.
No, but he does mention in the instructions that a flower box would be nice there. So I took that as inspiration.
What's the foundation made out of?
The foundation is just the bottom part of the clapboard siding. You smooth it down and then wrap it with the included, I guess it's a paper rock. It's not quite paper. Chris, you know what it's actually made out of.
Well, it is a paper substance of some sort. I always just called it rock paper, but it's actually printed and there's actually a texture to it. And I think it's the texture that makes it actually look like, a lot more like real rock.
Yeah,
and products
paper
we've seen
that
in the
what's his
past.
name sells.
I'm
What's
sorry,
that?
but I just have to ask, can you cut the rock paper with the scissors?
Yes. Well, as soon as he said rock paper, I almost said scissors. But
Yeah, in fact, I've got some right here.
Now,
Talking about
can
this
you
stuff right here. This is it right here.
yes, looks like that.
I have some of it.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I did a couple little washes on it to try to bring out some shadows.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice is that in fact, the Hunterline stains are actually really good for hiding seams with this stuff too.
now can you make scissors with the rock paper?
Be kind of difficult, but you might be able to do that.
You can laser cut them.
Yeah, sure, why not?
There you go.
All right, are we ready to move on to the, I think we've got one or two left here. Next one. Ah, there you go. Jeff Adam, you're up next.
This building didn't get finished, as you could tell. But this is the model that's going to use for the upcoming bill along in October and November. It will be produced in all 4 scales, N, H, O, S, and O. I'm going to tweak it a little bit, but once it's done, then I'll submit all the pictures and then Jim could share it with everybody. And then I don't know when I think the first build is October 22nd.
October the 20th.
October 20th. And which scale is that one?
All 4, same time.
We're going to do all 4 at the same. Wow. Okay.
All 4. Got 4 separate modelers, and each modeler has a building in N, H, O, S, and O. One of the people on the show tonight, Jeff, Phil Ethort in California, is the one that came up with this concept because his thinking was it would be interesting for people to be able to compare the building techniques and how the modelers need to build in the different scales. And the best way to do that was to have four really talented guys build the same model in all four scales at the same time. So that's what we're going to try to do here.
Yeah, no, I do have to tweak it a little bit. And of course, add the bottom to it to raise it up. And I
What
got
kind of
one
bottom?
email back.
What kind of bottom you planning to put on it, Jim?
It's going to be enclosed. It's going to be a wrap all the way around. It's just going to be vertical boards.
Okay.
Because nobody didn't want to see the individual poles underneath.
Okay.
You know, they weren't enclosed. I'm just doing vertical boards on the bottom.
Okay.
That'll look good, Jeff.
Yeah, well, Phil, I got an email from Phil. He thinks that I should either widen the building to get rid of the dock in front of the building. He thinks it will look better if the loading dock is just in front of the door, not along the side of the building.
Could do
I think it looks great the way it is. Just keep it nice and simple. Yeah, raise it up and make it look like it's for like what do you call that? A dairy, like a milk shed.
Yeah, that was my
like a
only
waste
comment was you have to have stuff, you know, it's kind of a place where you want stuff stored underneath the cover. If you've got the deck area, then you have to have stuff stored outside too. It's kind of a thought process of how a building would be used. Because the interesting thing about this building is you kind of have three spaces. You have the building itself, which is indoor storage, you have the covered storage, and then you have a loading dock, which is exterior storage that's not covered. So you know, kind of you kind of end up driving towards a bit of a mixed use building to make it make sense.
True.
I know, not a big deal. I was sitting there, so
good
I
thing.
just saw this like in the last hour or so. I'm trying to figure out how you extract out of it the maximum kind of, you know, describable structure. So
It does remind me of a larger version of Milk Stop that was along the Western Maryland, where it had a little bit of a building with an overhang. It was not gabled like that. It was just a shed roof. But then they had the uncovered platform outside where the milk would be dropped off or picked up. I think stuff was constantly turning over out there. It wasn't actually stored there, but then stuff that would be stored was under the overhang.
yeah.
Well, I was also thinking about, you know, if a train drops a load LLC stuff off and then you have trucks come by, pick it up, they will leave the crates outside.
Freight house, produce house, you know, anything like that would be a fitting use.
What about a station?
Good.
What if you centered the building to the base and then you had a platform on each side of it? One for picking up stuff and the other one to deliver on the train.
I've built one that looks just what you're saying. I was going to make that comment too.
Now, did you guys like the cupola? Because,
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I like it.
and
You got to put a weather vane on top.
yeah, I mean, it's only 3.8 inches long, the loading dock. I don't know if I should make it a little bigger.
What scale is that?
That's HO. Well, I just sent you the email
Okay.
to the builders. That's HO. That's 3.8 by 2.125,
So it's 25 feet long.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the building is 15 feet. In front of the building is 8 feet, I believe.
That looks good.
Yeah, I think it's great the way it is. Just keep it simple. I think the simple stuff is what people really like.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely.
Jeff, you going to have any decals or anything in the kit?
Any what detail parts?
Decals.
Oh, you mean signage?
Yeah.
I can
Speckles.
include some.
Huh?
I can include some signage. Well, first we have to figure out, if we want to do dairy, then we'll put dairy signs up. If it's going to be regular freight, we could put grain, or miscellaneous signage up. I mean, I was thinking about maybe a roof sign that will say Adamsville Depot.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Don't provide anything. Ask us to provide you back anything we create, and you can decide how to use that in the future.
Leave it up to the imagination.
Yeah, for this build along, do it that way.
So no signage.
That's what, let us. I don't. Leave it to other folks that are on. Let us decide what we want to do with it, and then if we do signs, we can provide the graphics back to you.
Oh, okay.
So if you decide that you like one of them or multiple, you can decide to include the graphics in the kit or put it, link to it, put it up on the web and provide links to it so people can print it.
I can do that.
Does that make sense? Everybody else?
Yep.
It does. But I will try to hurry up and finish the pilot model, paint it and everything, so I could submit the photos, and then I have to stick it on the eBay so people can start ordering, so they'll get the kits in time for the first build.
And I need to know how to advertise this too for you, Jeff, on the show, on our website and so forth. You need to tell me what the discount's going to be for the build along modelers.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, I will send you all that info. I will send you the 4 direct links for the four different sizes.
Okay, if you can get something to me no later than next Wednesday, then I can include it in my upcoming article, but I've got a publishing deadline on it. So whatever you've got at that point, if you can get it to me so I can put it in that article.
I will try my best, sir.
Okay.
So guys, I think you're stressing. I don't think that's where you should spend your time, Jeff. You should spend your time on migrating this to 4 scales of cutting. All you need, Jim, are these pictures.
I'm fine.
The bait here is not to finish.
All I need, Phil, all I need from right now, I can use the pictures that he's got there.
Right, exactly.
If he'll just tell me what the discount to include in the kit, so that I know how to structure the article, I'm a happy camper. That's the only other piece of information I need. I've got the rest of it.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't think you need to finish and you just need to put these pictures in on eBay and say, if you're interested in the build along that's happening on new tracks where 4 modelers are going to take this kit and turn it into something, and you want to buy one to follow along, buy it and follow along. Finished models will be visible in a month.
Yeah, well, I'm going to mention all that when I put it on my website.
Right. But what I'm saying is I would focus less on trying to complete one yourself. I mean, if everybody else is cool, I'm cool with this, and I'll figure out exactly what I want to do with it, because I now have all I need to get most of the work done, which is figuring out what I'm going to do. Right. That's half the project, quite frankly.
Clark, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm good just the way it is. Just like Phil said, just get it done in N-scale.
Greg, what do you think?
And you're going to have to, you got to get them out, because it's going to take minimum of 10 days to get it up to Canada.
Right. And got to have a little while to put them together.
Yeah.
Right. The one for Canada, what scale?
Well, there's 2 of us.
There's 2. Yeah.
Jeff, it's Clark Cooning.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing the N scale one, and Bob Farquhar, who lives in the Ottawa area, is doing S scale.
Yeah.
So those 2 need to be out ASAP.
Yeah. And Greg is doing the HO scale, and Phil is doing the O scale.
And those 2 guys are in the US. So
we're in the US.
Well, I'm going to see Greg. I'm going to see Greg next week. I can just give him his.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Trent show. We're going to Maryland, so I'm going to see him there.
Bring me one too.
Yeah. And by the way, I would go ahead and put them right on, if you're gonna sell them on eBay, when you feel comfortable taking the orders, you can probably put them on with these pictures and that. So, because people who are going to buy them this time are probably going to be doing the build along more than anything else. So they're going to be comfortable with that's what it looks like to start with.
Yeah, if
Anyway,
you could,
cool.
Jeff, if you can throw that under frame or the base underneath it, that might help them. And some of them might think it's just going to be sitting on the ground like that.
Yeah, I agree with Greg's
I'm
comment.
definitely gonna raise it up because,
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important to note in this, and maybe I'm wrong, is that all 4 scales are going to be built at the same time.
Right.
Because that's the key to it. Because whatever kit they build, that kit is whatever they buy, whatever scale they buy.
Right.
That scale of that model will be built live on the show by one of these 4 modelers.
Yes.
So and this is the first time that we've ever done it this way.
Well, it sounds like Greg's going to get to start a lot sooner than everyone else, but.
Maybe a little bit, but Clark's going to have an advantage because building an N scale, you can go faster. You put on less glue, and so it dries faster.
Now think about it. That cupola in HO scale is 3/4 of an inch. I mean, that is freaking tiny. An N is going to be half.
Clark's going to need his tweezers.
But it
Put
is
signage on it, covered.
It is a small building, but the price will be good. So hopefully, we'll sell 100 of them. That'll be nice.
Maybe more than that. Hopefully more than that.
Well, interestingly enough, it's a building that is functionally more valuable in the larger scales, right? Because you can get a siding for a relatively small area of footprint of building.
And it's also easily customizable for anybody who wants to do something different with it.
And that's why I like the idea of each one of you, building it how you see it, what your creativity brings to the table. And I really think, Jeff, that may help you, because then you'll have 4 separate models, builders that are really talented modelers that you can use on your website to show the capabilities of this simple building being turned into something.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, my 2 cents is that this reminds me of the Middleburg, and Schoharie Railroad freight depot, which was sort of eventually was sort of attached with the outdoor overhang actually attached to the passenger station. So I mean, that's some of the older pictures, it doesn't show the overhang connecting the 2 buildings, but the later ones did. So I'm not sure if that's an idea for other modelers to attach it to a passenger station.
Jeff, is this one of the Dynamodels kits that you're converting?
We lost you. I couldn't hear you.
He asked if that was an old Dana model product. If you guys remember my McGirl Depot, that one was. I just renamed it and gave it extra. This is just a smaller version of the McGirl Depot.
Gotcha.
Now, the last emails that I got from you guys, looks like you all said you guys want shakes for shingles. That still stands? You want shakes?
Works for me. I don't care what kind of roof it has.
Same with me.
Shakes, I think would be better for this, unless you're going to do it as like a produce stand.
I'd bash it into a handcar shed.
I already have a hand car shed outside. I mean, one of my buildings. I make one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, shakes. Yeah, sure. Beautiful and N scale. I'll work on that.
Make sure they're individual shakes.
Well, of course.
Oh,
of course.
I'm not that mean.
Absolutely.
All right, hey, guys, we can continue this during the after show, but I gotta
Just
move
keep
on.
an eye out on it. Just keep an eye out on your emails. I will inform you,
Gotcha. All I need from what I've got, the photos you've already sent me. The only other thing I need to know is the price discount.
pricing, price discount, and the direct links and all that. Yeah.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Chris, are you finished for tonight, or you got more?
Actually, no, I think there's one more.
Great.
But wait, there's more.
Great.
Oh, God.
All right, so we'll move on. John Garrity sent
Okay.
these photos in of an O-scale narrow gauge coal cutter. This thing looks like something out of Mad Max.
It is one of the most unpleasant jobs in hand cutting coal is undercutting the face. So basically you cut the top of the face and undercut the bottom of the face, drill it full of holes, plug it full of explosives, go bang, and you wind up with a whole flock of coal that you can load into a coal skip and send to the surface and sell to someone. The most unpleasant job in hand mining coal is working down at this level on your back on busted coal with a pick trying to cut under the coal face. So one of the first mechanized devices that went into coal mines was what was called a coal cutter. Originally they were pneumatically powered. Later on, they were electrically powered. This was one of the more later electrically powered designs. Originally, they went in on rail wheels. Later, they went in on tracks or were skull dragged in, tied up, and then used with the big cutter bar to undercut the face. So this cutter bar would kind of chew out a slot about 4 foot deep into the coal face at the bottom of the face. So I decided I've got a workshop that needs a scenic detail. So enter the coal cutter. There's really nothing magic to this. It's a basic skip frame, some wheels underneath, a manually fabricated cutter bar. I've got some chain that I use for another project. This is Servo Link chain. It's 1/8 pitch. It's about as small a roller chain as you can get, and it clips together in individual links, so you can make your chain any length you want. It just so happens that I've got track nails that fit in behind the roller chain, which when you cut the ends of the track pins off, you get a row of teeth that look something like this. Now, the teeth are staggered, one up, one down, which gives you some clearance for the blade when you're undercutting. So these things would go in, chew away at the board, at the coal face, and you'd wind up with a slot under the. Then you'd back this thing out the way, go in, drill your holes, shoot the face, and away you go. Unfortunately, the model that I'm building is going to be a workshop queen. So I've got a cutaway building at the front of a display layout that will be the workshop. The top left photo shows the internals of the workshop. We've got all the internal machinery ready to go in. Unfortunately, it wasn't installed when this photo was taken. All it is a lump of square tube on top, a lump of dowel that gives you the pivot for the blade, some wheels and axles on a skip frame, and we've fudged some controls out of some scrap styrene that aren't in this particular photo. So it's going to get a whole lot more oil stained, and there'll be some bits and pieces of roof that fell on top of it, which is the reason it's in the workshop being fixed. So the scenic cameo will be probably a fitter kind of scratching his head, looking at this thing saying, how the blazes did they do that? And a gang of guys about to attack it with spanners to try and fix it so they can get it back underground to cut more coal, so the guys miners don't have to be down on their backs hand cutting. So that's the aim of the game, and that's about it from me.
That's one of the most creative things I've heard of in a long time.
John, do they have much of a coal industry in Australia? I don't know what it's like down there.
Big time.
Yeah.
A lot of it is open cut now. Locally, the model I'm building is a model of one of the local coal mines. It's about 5 miles north of me. It's a rather interesting coal mine because it had a self-acting or gravity-powered incline that went down on a 1 in 4 grade, which is 25%. Yeah, so that's the model. This is a model of the coal cutter that will be inhabiting a cutaway workshop with all the details of machinery. Now, by the time we're modelling, this workshop would have been electrically powered. So a lot of the machinery will be electrically powered. There'll be none of the overhead belts that were in the oldest steam-powered type workshops. Any other questions?
All right.
Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It's very, very basic, but hey, from 3 feet away, I think it'll work. Okay, I'm gone. Listening out.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
like a giant chainsaw on its side.
Yeah, thanks,
Yep,
John.
that's about it.
Thanks, John, and everyone for participating tonight. I think I got everybody. If I didn't, I apologize. It's been quite an evening, quite a day, actually putting together all these different slides, because I think I had like 3 or 4 sets this morning, and then this afternoon it just all exploded. It was like, wow. So if I missed you, I apologize.
You could save mine the next time, Chris.
What's that?
You could save mine the next time then.
Okay, sounds good.
When's the next time, Chris?
Is Jim, you said October 27th?
October 27th.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
You should have two files from me already.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I know I've got the hopper car. I thought you sent one more, but I don't remember seeing it. I know it's in there somewhere.
There was 1 freight cars and 1 structures.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll tell you what, I'll put you in a queue as I've already got somebody in for the first slot for the next one. I'll put you in for the second slot.
That's cool. I don't, whatever works. It's too late now tonight anyhow.
Yeah, this is it's been quite an evening. I want to thank everybody for participating. A lot of different stuff, a lot of things, a lot of creativity here. Appreciate that. And that's exactly what my build is about. So I'll turn it back over to Jim now.
Chris, thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. I think it's great. And I'm really pleased that so many people decided to participate in this. Like I say, I think this is a major part of our show. What you've heard tonight is some modeling tips, some modeling techniques, some things that a lot of us haven't heard before. At least I've never heard about before. And I think it's been an exceptional night. I really do. I think this has been great. The other comment I make before we close this out is somebody said, well, why are you putting all of these other pictures on behind you? Well, the association I wanted to put up because I'm really proud of that. I'm happy that they accepted New Tracks as the member. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this relationship goes with the hobby manufacturers. The other two, the NMRA, I'm a life member of the NMRA. I believe in it. I don't always agree with it. I agree with some of the things they do, but I've been a member for many, many years now, and I know owe a lot to the friendships I've made and to the NMRA. So I thought it was only right for them to be represented. The Mideast region, it's the only region in the NMRA that I've ever been a part of that I'm still a life member of. Even though I haven't lived in that region for about 17 years now, I still get all their literature, and I'm a life member of that organization. And I have so many friends and so many fond memories of that region that I wanted to include them too. So I hope that explains the other pictures that you now see on the green screen. And to close it out, thanks so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you learned something. I hope it improves your modeling and gives you some ideas of things that you can do in the future. Thank you again. See you next Wednesday.